All right. Okay, 7 p.m. August 16th, 2022 in City Hall, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Time to call the City of Torrington Inland Wetlands Commission to order. Serving on the commission this evening are members William Storty, Thomas Kalinowski, Emily Jury, and myself, Jay Bate. Also present is Nate Nardi Cyrus, Inland Wetlands Enforcement Officer. Okay. Next is minutes for approval for the 7/12/22 meeting.
I move we approve the minutes.
Have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, old business. Applicant City of Torrington, location Bow Road, CT DOT bridge number 05059. Activity temporary placement of ground supported shoring towers along the river. And I don't think we have any issues with this. Everybody all set? All set, yeah. And motion.
We're approving it. Okay, I move we approve applicant City of Torrington, Bow Road, CTDOT Bridge 05059 for activity temporary placement of ground supported shoring structures in Delaware River.
And second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Abstention. One abstention, motion carries. Okay, next applicant, Paul Abling. Location 4, that's one 3.
I don't.
With one
I don't know
abstention,
if
we got
abstention.
I was just thinking. I have to wait till next week to go through the next month. Not sure.
In the regulation itself,
We can always wait less than needed.
yeah, they're looking at a pretty tight turnaround right now, so I'd like to see if I can find it in here real quick.
Okay.
And my apologies, this was prepared that last
What we can do, I don't want to continue on.
Yeah, continue on.
And then I can look it up.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, next is applicant Paul Ealing, 471 Newfield Road.
That's actually a correction, it's 271, that was my
Or
error.
471 Newfield Road. It's 270.
It's 271, yeah, and that's correct on the application and on the memo, so.
Okay. And the activity was removal of vegetation in an upland review area.
Yeah, and it appears, I don't know if that's who the guest is, so.
So Keith,
Yeah, but does anyone remember how to get to participants? Yeah. I'm not sure, I guess if the guest is Keith Abling, then speak up, and if not, I'll just assume he's not on the meeting. Okay. He wasn't at the last meeting. I can kind of summarize that action. That's kind of a shrubby upland review area adjacent to the East Range Road River, and he was doing some minor grading, but over a half an acre, with a plan to reestablish grass throughout that entire area, back to its historic state.
Yeah, we kind of went over that last meeting. I guess by the time we had the last meeting, he had already put in some hay bales or silt fencing and stuff, or it was already stable.
There was really no slope to it at that level. It was completely flat, and he seeded it, and hayed it. It was an enforcement action, and it had already, the grass had already taken.
Okay. So I guess this is old business, so I need a motion to approve this.
Move we approve applicant Paul Abling, location 271 Newfield Road, activity removal of vegetation in an upland review area.
And can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Staying.
So we got, you're abstaining, or are you for?
I said aye.
You said aye, okay, I didn't hear you, sorry. Okay, so we're on the same boat with that.
Yeah, so I guess we can, I mean, I know
Usually we say it because the majority of who's here, so it passes.
yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll say it passes.
Okay.
Along with the city as well.
Are we good?
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
yes.
all right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, then next is new business.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Next is determination of significance. Usually we don't put it on that way, but whatever. Well, usually. It's never.
Is it an acceptance usually? What's it? Is it an acceptance usually?
Yeah, usually we accept. Okay, but anyways, determination of significance. Applicant Keith Bodwell, that's who's on the line. Location Albert Park Road and Kennedy Drive, 130, must be 135/003/052. Activity 3-lot subdivision with concept plan in upland review area.
Yeah, so Keith can present this, but we do have, Keith, we have a PDF of the site plan for the subdivision, but can you share your screen? don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
can.
you even have it.
I think I can do that.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Keith.
All right, is that Sharon? Can you guys see that or?
But you're still muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you, but we can see your screen share.
Can you
If
hear
you
it all now?
press and hold the space bar, you should be able to unmute yourself as well that way.
Can you hear me?
Maybe I wonder if it's a problem on my end.
Yeah, might be speakers.
Yeah, normally if someone's muted, the little mute button will show
Oh,
up
that's true.
next to their name.
Let me probably put these just in power on. Try now.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. My fault, technical error.
All right, can you guys see the screen share okay?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, so this is a 4.5 acre site, or just under 4.5 acres. We're looking to split it into 3 lots. There's a large portion of this that is wetlands. It's the purple line you see on the screen there. That is the wetlands line. So the upland review area basically covers the whole site except for this bottom corner. And then we've got zoning setbacks that pretty much take all of the site and make it within that upland review area. We are looking to make 3 lots out of this for commercial development. There.
For everyone- Oh, sorry, Keith. For everyone's background, this is just the application for the subdivision. So if they were going to, actually develop this site further, they would have more than just a concept plan. this is only, you know, to approve the subdivision for wetlands.
So now, all those buildings that he has in there, those are all totally in the wetlands?
No, they're in the upland review area.
So the wetland line is where?
Is this the,
Right up against the buildings?
right up against the buildings, yeah.
So there'll be grading associated with these buildings, so you're gonna definitely be impacting wetlands, is that correct?
They're gonna be, for the buildings, we're gonna use the walls as retaining walls and probably would do some kind of a sheet piling or something to keep out of the wetlands area.
Where is this on Alvin Park Road?
Right in the corner with Kennedy,
Okay, and it's, if you're going up Kennedy Drive, is it on the right?
on the right.
Okay, so it's not next, it's not near all the buildings that are already in there on the right, it's on the left-hand side where there's a brook coming through.
Yeah, the Fox Run and Deer Crest kind of subdivision goes around this piece. Kind of diagonally across from the Albert Park where the BMX track is and stuff.
Okay, yeah, it's diagonally across, okay, and there's a river that runs through there.
Correct. The dark line on your screen is the stream running through there. I could probably blow this up a little if it makes it easier to see. If that helps any.
The wetland line is that purplish blue line.
Yeah, can you see my cursor at all, or I don't know, does the cursor show up, or?
Okay, and there's the river running through it.
The river is that dark
Yeah,
black line.
you're saying that's not part of the wetlands? Or it is, yeah, it is part of the wetlands.
That is part of the wetlands. Yeah, that's in the wetlands area.
It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of room to put 3 buildings in there.
Are those, the dark outlines of those buildings?
Yes,
So where's parking?
it's going to be parking underneath the building.
Underneath each building?
Underneath each building, yeah. Each building will have parking underneath.
I mean, you could subdivide it into 3, but it doesn't mean he has those out that much building on it. It's just a concept, right? It's
Correct.
we okay this, that he could build a building that big. He could come back and we could say he could build a 1-family house on it. Correct?
As it stands right now, are these gonna be, how many stories are these?
They'd be, the parking would kind of, it slopes down towards Albert Park on Kennedy there. So the entrance would be on the low side, the parking would kind of go underground, and then they'd be a single story above that. So on the low side, it would look like a 2-story building because you'd have the parking would be at ground level. On the high side, it would be single story.
Is this zone commercial?
It's it is zoned industrial park zone.
I think conceptually it's trying to put, I mean, I don't see how you can do this development without impacting. I mean, you can say you're doing using your walls, your building walls as retaining walls, but you're right up against the wetlands. So how do you install, how are you gonna excavate out for those walls without impacting the adjacent wetlands? I mean, I know it's only concept, so you can come back, if they come back in 3 months, you can, I guess, go over that.
Yeah, at that point,
Conceptually, it's like we're trying to cram, you know, the building shapes match the outline of the wetlands, you know, it just seems like just trying to maximize the square footage of the building just for the sake of that.
I mean, you could put a building in there. You could put a house or something like that in there, but I don't see.
Not if it's zoned industrial park.
Yeah, that's the problem. It has to be a store or something.
Are there any engineering controls preliminary wise for the river or the brook that's running through the property?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are there any preliminary engineering controls for the stream that's running through the middle of the property?
No, they're not.
Okay, not this time at least.
See, I have a hard time saying whether it's a significant activity because there isn't, we're not saying there's a building on there. So just drawing lines on a map isn't a significant activity. It would be a significant activity if you came back and said, I want to build these 3 parcels, these 3 buildings on these parcels. In my opinion, I don't know if that's,
Well, it certainly has the potential to be a significant activity.
yeah, it has the potential to be. But as far as us saying, you know, drawing the lines on the map is significant, there still is room. They could put a small building in there of some sort. I mean, how big is the narrowest part of the one on the bottom? How wide is it?
That is. It's about 40 feet, I think it is.
I mean, on that parcel, they could probably shift a building down farther.
It's right up against the setbacks.
Oh, okay, so then you have setbacks issues.
Yeah, because there's a residential on
Yeah.
Deer Crest there, so we have a large setback.
Yes, conceptual, I don't know how you determine whether it's significant or not. I mean,
Yeah.
you accept the application as a conceptual. And then when there's final design, it has to come back, or?
That's exactly how it would go. And in this case, it's just the subdivision itself. You know.
We've got to go through this process twice, once for the subdivision and then once to actually do the
Right, the
construction.
concept is less important than the subdivision itself, like are you
And this is.
isolating, like forcing a wetland crossing, or, you know, like something to do with the configuration of lots, like is that the question is that the significant activity?
And none of these subdivisions will require us to cross the wetlands or do anything like that.
Well, the problem is you're so tight up against the wetlands, I don't see how you can build what you're building. That's the issue I have. You're gonna, if you came back with this, I don't know how it would go as far as getting
Right.
approval.
With real grading, and, you know. Presumably you're gonna have to have, I guess. I mean, the road slopes, right, so the land slopes, so. If you have one floor elevated, I mean, I don't see how you can do it without grading somehow, you know, in the back and front. Front doesn't matter, but the backs and the sides, I don't see how you can go. Well, I mean, without seeing an actual, like, fully designed engineering plan, I don't know how you can determine whether it's significant or not. I mean, if you'd shown smaller buildings in there, we probably would say, you know. Conceptually not significant. But, you know, for subdivision purposes, you know, I mean, you could always drive them to, you know, something. Full defeats the fire when there's final design.
I just don't wanna approve anything that's gonna come back and say, oh, you approved this the way it was, so we wanna build it that way. And you said it wasn't significant, so how can it be significant now? That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if we need more clarification from, say, the legal department of what we can and can't accept as far as these types of developments, when there's really hardly any room to put any building on it.
Yeah, I mean, I could follow up if you wanted to table it.
Yeah, why don't we table it? I'd like more information. I don't like the word, you know, significant activity on a plot plan, you know, because you don't know what they're building. So, I mean, it's okay to draw lines on a map, and that's not significant. And like he says, he comes back, and then he's gonna have to say whether it's significant or not. And then you get into a whole different all of that. So I'd like to get clarification. I don't know what the rest of the commission,
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's
I'm kind of,
uncomfortable, like, saying something's not significant when it's. not fully developed, you know,
Yeah,
fully
I
realized.
just don't see enough information at this stage to be able to move forward with it confidently.
Because normally I think what might be throwing us is the determination of significant. It used to just say something different. And then we'd accept or deny the application, you know, we accept it as being complete. And then the next time through, we'd say yes or no, but we didn't, at that point, if it was a building, we would say it was significant or not. If it was a plot plan, I don't think we ever did.
Yeah, right now, we're just trying to get the subdivision at this point.
Has this gone through zoning?
No, it has with wetlands first. And then we go to PEZ.
Can you separate the subdivision of the lot from the buildings? I mean,
Well, that's kind of what it is. We have to go through this twice. Once is for the subdivision, the second time is for,
Right, we would require a concept for subdivision because they need to show how the lot can be before being used.
But that concept doesn't seem, to me, personally, doesn't seem that it could be done that way. So the conceptual drawing isn't it good, in my opinion, because I don't know if I would approve of 3 buildings in that position, in that size. When he comes back,
In that proximity.
yes, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think maybe just table this and get information on this determination of significance. If we can okay his lot subdivision, that's fine, but I don't like the significance, determination of significance.
Can it be like determined based on, and like have a caveat based on submission of like final engineered plans?
Well, to clarify, so this is the determination of significance. This is basically deciding whether or not there's going to be a public hearing or not at the next meeting.
Right, we always say that at the end of when we're
Right.
putting the motion.
So it hasn't changed in that way. I mean, that's just another way of looking at it is that, you know, you're accepting the application either way, but you're making a determination if you can proceed without a hearing or not. So maybe if you look at it that way, it might be a little bit different, like, you know, whether or not you can come to this conclusion by the next meeting on your own, or if you think it's significant enough that you should let the public comment.
But I think the tricky part is if they come back with that design exactly like that, and we say in the conceptual that we say it's not significant. If they come back with that exact same thing, it's like, well, this wasn't significant then. Why is it significant now?
Right, exactly, that's what I'm afraid of.
Right, but couldn't you, with, not to play devil's advocate, but like, you could condition whatever approval, like you're just approving this, but if they can't meet whatever conditions you set, then you don't have to approve it if you think that there's gonna be significant.
Well, we can
impacts on
accept
the
it
road.
and set a public hearing
Yeah,
at this stage and then have, we can come back with more plans and then either approve it or deny it at that second stage, correct?
But this is, what I have a problem with is it's the cart before the horse, because this has to go through 2 other boards, zoning and what was the other one?
I think it would have to go through zoning and then it would have to come back to
Yeah.
this commission and then back to zoning.
Right. And I'm not sure whether zoning would let a building in that big, maybe they would, because they don't look at the wetland boundaries.
Yeah, they're not looking at the wetlands at all.
well, the process is, at least as far as we were told, was that we had to come through, get the subdivision first. And then we'd have to come back with more detailed plans showing how this would be constructed and to show that it wouldn't be a significant impact to your
Well,
wetlands.
So is that about the size of the building you're gonna try to build, or is that just something you threw on the page?
Are there architects working on buildings, those buildings right now, designing them?
Not that I'm aware of. The owner does not have a, I think he's probably going to sell them before he sell the lots before he's not, I don't think he's planning on building these actual lots, so.
Sticky one.
Well, like he said, we could Yeah, condition it that, by no means are buildings that size not significant in the future.
This way we give them time to come back with.
Because the whole thing that I'm looking at myself is the size of the buildings that he penciled in. If you just put little buildings
Scale
the
down,
three-
right?
parcels, we'd say, oh, no problem, but it's just that the big parcels on the small areas.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's thrown me. So what do you think? You want to do a condition?
Yeah, I mean, it's got 3 more steps to go after this, right? It's got to go planning, zoning, back to, then final design, and back here. It just needs to be worded, I think, just so that it doesn't, like we said, like we beat that horse already, that you said this wasn't significant. We came back with the exact same layout. Why is it now significant? Just how do you word that? It doesn't leave it to be interpreted that way.
Well, or we could just do it the other way and just say it is a significant activity, have a public hearing and go through it and.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I guess the problem is that with the concept plans, we're gonna need to get them fully engineered for the final design, which is the second phase of things.
Right, you understand what we're saying, where if we say this is not significant and you come back with those exact same building layout. and
Right,
then we
but
say-
that's the second phase of things, not the subdivision.
Right, this is just subdivision. So if you came back and said that those buildings had a significant impact, you wouldn't be in the, like, your last decision wouldn't negate that. It's just that you approved the subdivision prior to it.
because what kind of does cover is we have no numbers as to how big those buildings are, other than a picture that makes it look terrible.
Yeah,
There's no.
I'm not
There
against the building, it's just I don't want.
Yeah,
issues to
on
get-
Keith, you have the dimensions of those structures on the site plan, right? Based on-
The cubic square feet of them are on there. Yeah.
But square feet would make them go higher. Yeah, right, and not be as big.
I totally get that it's concept. I just think it needs to get worded in a manner that forces Keith to come back in front of the board again, with like starting from scratch, basically.
We could definitely work on, some language for how, for the next meeting.
Okay, so we can basically say this is.
Because we're just accepting it, just
Yes,
accepting it.
and say whether it's significant or not, so.
Just for public hearing.
Right, and then when we
Put the
caveats on through, we can word it differently so that they would come back and say what we're afraid they might
Yeah,
say.
okay. All right. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay,
Good with that.
okay, all right, okay, can I have a motion?
Okay, so we're approving it and then.
Accepting it, right?
Accepting.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I move we accept the applicant Keith Bogwell for location Alfred Park Road and Kennedy Drive, map block lot 135-352, activity 3 lots subdivision with concept plan and upland review area as an insignificant activity.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you very much.
and we'll work on the wording for the next meeting. Because really with that lot, whether there was 1 lot or 3 lots, it made no difference, it's because they were so segmented, you couldn't.
Right,
you-
right,
one-
you're not
Yeah,
putting bigger.
it's not like you put one big building in the middle, it still wouldn't work. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, determination of significance, applicant David Alfano, location Eagle Ridge, 244-006-173. Activity, wetland crossing, tree removal, new home construction, and upland review area.
David, is that you as the other guest? He said that he was on vacation, but he would try to attend via Zoom, so.
Probably put to sleep after that one.
I just want to pull up, that's the bridge. So this is. Actually something Ken worked on, I believe. But he's not here to talk about that.
If need be, I can answer some of the commission's questions.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is an application for a single family home. You can see here, it's basically the lot is surrounded by wetlands. You can see this little symbol here, that's the wetlands around there. And so there's a crossing that's proposed for the wetlands here. This construction activity would be within the upland review area. And then there is some limited clearing of trees and vegetation here, here, and here to be protected with boulders to prevent, further manipulation of that area, but to open it up around the house. And I have to look at the memo to see if there's any other,
So the boulders,
drainage all goes outside of the wetland area.
the boulders are in the wetlands? Outside.
I believe they're right on the edge.
And the crossings and wetlands?
For the record, Kenneth Ricka, professional engineer and licensed land surveyor. This was a subdivision that I brought in front of the Wetland Commission, I believe in 2010. I didn't really do my homework on this project to bring this forward tonight. But this plan was brought as is in front of the Wetlands Commission with what you see here. The house size and shape has changed just a little bit, but everything else pretty much is exactly as was approved by the Wetlands Commission for the subdivision. The access way does cut through the wetlands in front. The boulders are placed on the wetlands line specifically. I think it was a request of the Wetlands Commission to do that so that the owner would realize where the wetland limits were. And there is an outlet of footing drains, rather roof drains that go adjacent to the wetlands, but it is in the upland area. So it's basically the same exact plan that was prepared for the subdivision, aside from a couple of minor engineering tweaks when the engineering department got it.
So the only one that's being disturbed is that wetlands crossing?
The wetlands.
Okay, a little bit of clearing here.
Yeah.
What is the circle on the bottom right-hand corner?
That's a well.
No, yeah,
The bottom right.
yeah, the bottom right of the house, yeah,
That's a what?
a well.
It's a well location and the radius is a 25-foot radius. I'm sorry,
That's not 75 foot.
no, it's not.
Yeah, why is it not a 75 foot radius?
Because the building is on sewer.
Oh,
So
okay.
it is a 25-foot radius.
Yeah.
And they don't have to have 75 because they have city sewer.
Where is the sewer line? Is it going to the drive?
The sewer line is running up the driveway.
Okay.
The house is right here.
That's
So
the
we're
same.
keeping all of the disturbance coming in within the driveway corridor, and protecting the wetlands around it as it comes in through, crosses the wetlands here, and then the wetland goes around, and pretty much the boulders define the wetlands on this plan, so that the owners moving forward will know exactly where.
No, this
to-
isn't a new lot, this lot's been on the books.
I believe 2010 or 12 was the original
How
approval,
much,
so it's.
how much wetlands are being impacted? Square feet, does it say that?
It does not. The application may, or that
Yeah.
probably doesn't either.
Yeah, let me look at the application.
It's a 12-foot drive coming in. 25-foot front yard here. You can wetland being back another 15, so you're probably crossing 40 feet of wetlands with a 12-foot drive, 400 square
Is
feet.
there do you have a culvert under the drive?
Yes.
Yeah, I can barely see what here, so.
Yeah, we have.
There's a roadside swale that was constructed that runs through in front of the lot.
It's hard to see that,
For
that's-
piping water.
Yeah, I apologize for not distributing that.
Okay. All right,
But this development happened after, Wetlands? Like, it's not like from the sixties or anything like that, so this development's like newer.
No, this plan was fully vetted by the Torrington Inland Wetlands Commission as part of the subdivision. In fact, it's almost identical, aside from the style of the house that's being put there. And like I said, a couple of minor tweaks from Paul, from the engineering department, as to where to outlet a culvert and add some riprap on the backside of the footing drain here so that it flows into the drainage system out the road.
Just, anyone else can see it? So you guys went through it 12 years ago.
yeah, I must have gone through it. I kind of remember boulders, but
I think that was actually a request by a wetland commissioner to somehow
Define it.
yeah.
a permanent definition of the wetlands so that as the house goes, is built and is lived in after for a while, that it would protect sprawl of the yard and a slow filling of the wetlands by the owners.
What's to prevent, I mean, is it like a super defined wetland, or is it like more seasonal? I mean, what's to prevent the homeowner from, going, mowing and planting stuff to the top left of that?
So I can speak to that, because I may have been out there sooner than Ken was.
I have not been out
The
there.
area, most of that area is very rocky, extremely rocky, so it's like one of those sort of mossy, doesn't appear wet at all, really. I would guess that they're wetland soils, but they're kind of near the end of the depth, so I didn't see a lot of indicator plant species that would have suggested to me that there was wetlands on the site there. But I do think it would be difficult probably to just mow if they're not stumping the trees that they're cutting past the boulder areas or even the other areas. I think it would be difficult to do that.
I think the boulders were a handy way to do it because there are some in that site.
There's a lot on the site.
It was easier than hauling them away and then having to put up markers to mark a wetland. Just use what's there.
Okay. So I don't think it's significant. That motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept applicant David Alfano, location Eagle Ridge, 244-006-173. Activity wetland crossing tree removal and new home construction up in review area as not stated.
Motion to have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks for.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
I should have given you a heads up on that. That's my fault on that.
I saw it on the agenda as I was printing it up and running out the door. And I'm like,
Okay, next is determination of significance. Location 3222/3226 on Fourth Street. Activity wetland filling, creation of constructed wetland and improvements within upland review area.
would you mind if I came closer and just spoke loudly enough to talk about this? It seems to be Rick Associates' old subdivision plan. Again, this is a former subdivision I did. Brought it fully through the Wetlands Commission. I'm gonna go a little bit off script here about slippery slopes and concept plans. Be careful with concept plan because you may get pigeonholed.
That's what our concern is.
Dividing lots and then coming back and saying, no, that's not a buildable lot. You get in a lot of trouble. Anyway, for the record, back in 2008, we proposed a 10-lot subdivision on this 8-acre property. And that subdivision was approved and again, fully vetted by the Wetlands Commission. And in 2008, this is the plan that was proposed. It was a building of an actual road called Canfield Court with a cul-de-sac and 10 or 9 lots off of that with an existing house lot, not actually served by that roadway. Back in 2006, the wetlands was flagged by Ed Pollack. Most of you commissioners are probably not familiar with Ed, but Ed is, I've been working with Ed for 25 years, and he was my go-to guy, and he was very conservative to the point where at some point Ed decided not to work for developers anymore because he didn't like the stress and the challenge of having potentially being challenged on delineations.
Ken, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure that you have a mic facing your way too, since we're closer, so. Sorry for that, for all the way at the beginning.
Thank you. And so what you can see here is the delineation that Ed made was of 2 wetland pockets, one behind the existing house and one offsite, but adjacent with the 75-foot radius coming in. In order to access this site, which was, I call it very large pine trees. The entire site was covered with it. It was pretty open in there because of the canopy of the tree. So if you walk through here, you could see pretty far and you could see very well. It wasn't a shrub area where you were fighting to see the ground. And so Ed would have had to have walked through this little corridor multiple times to get onto this site, and he defined this wetland very well. So the owners ran into some financial difficulties, and at that time, there was a new regulation put in by the city's engineering department that would require granite curbing on all brand new subdivision roads, which in relative terms per foot is 10 times the cost of an asphalt curb. And the curbing on this road would have been $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 all by itself just to do the curbing on the road. It blew the budget out of the water for the developers. So we came back in 2015 and consolidated the lots and they said sold off the house. Consolidated the lots and only presented a 3-lot subdivision, one fronting right on Torringford Street and 2 lots coming up a shared driveway to the back. Wetlands were still the same at that point. What we proposed to do was a couple of very shallow drainage areas on the site, planted as a rain garden to handle roof and footing drain runoff, and those are highlighted in green. A new person bought the 2 lots and decided to build a house and a house on lot 2, which is just a little over 3 acres, and leave this as a potential lot for his children in the future, which was 4.5 acres. And he just wanted to kind of clear the old dying pine trees out and replant, and he was in the process of doing that when Jeremy came out to visit and found a new pocket of wetlands entirely across the opening to get into the site. Now, honestly, I've known Ed would have not missed that. So that wetland has developed since 2006, in my opinion. I don't see how Ed could have possibly have missed that, but it's there now. There's no other access to these 2 lots besides the corridor that is here. And the driveway actually splits and goes in. There's an existing access way here to the most rear lot. And then the other lot opens up behind. There's a gas pipeline, and actually this lower wetland that's offsite was due probably to the creation of the gas pipeline, and they regraded over, they created a low spot and created a pocket here. But this wetland now is fairly viable. And just when you look at how the plan goes, there's somewhat of a connection to these two, but not. We've had George Logan, professional wetland scientist, come out and flag these wetlands, and it doesn't go any further than here, so they actually don't connect, but they're fairly close. This one falls within the 75-foot radius of that one, or the radius is now overlapped, but the wetland's there. And so we took a look at it, and the outlet to this particular rain garden, it's smack in the middle of the well. So we decided that that's probably not a great idea, that the wetland shouldn't have piped water going directly into it like that. In order to get the pipes out of the wetlands, we did have to change the site plan that was originally prepared for this lot and raise the house up. And in doing so, what it afforded us to do was create a sort of a plunge pool forebay for piping from the garage, from a proposed garage and a proposed house into a forebay area that's going to be riprap. Some vegetation will take if there's enough salt in there, but it's riprap, so it can be cleaned, and then the riprap can be put back in. That will overflow into a rain garden adjacent to the existing wetlands. And we calculated the amount of disturbance because of the driveway, and we're creating an expansion or a proposed wetland to the north of this wetland to add on to it. So what the water from the buildings will be filtered through, and we'll catch all the silt in the basin. Then the berms of these is going to be just a core log set in place at a certain elevation where we can actually control that elevation pretty well with grading to get the core logs to the elevation you want. The core logs around this will be slightly higher with an overflow that goes to the rain garden. And as the rain garden fills up, if it gets enough water to overflow, it will overflow into the proposed wetland area and into the existing wetland area to keep that area charged. It's not likely, even though the driveway, has the wetlands on both sides, that this is going to remain a viable wetland on either side here. So we decided right away to include that area as well, because it's probably going to disappear as the driveway goes through it. And so we're making up for that by adding a wetland adjacent here. And George Logan is working with me, and before the next meeting, he's going to put together a comprehensive plan similar to the one I'm holding for another project, which is just an implementation notes of how to restore a wetland and the right way to go about removing stumping in the soil, removing the topsoil, checking to see if there's invasives in that soil. And if there is, you're not going to put that soil back into the wetlands because you don't want the seeds from the invasives to take back over. They'll bring in a clean topsoil with a lot of organics in it, lower the elevation slightly so that it mimics the elevation here. And as the water comes out from these drains, we're going to ensure that we keep recharging that area so that it remains viable well.
How many square feet is being lost?
2,146 is what we're proposing. I think there was about 2,135 or 6 feet of area lost here. So it's the mitigation area really mimics what we.
What is it about width by length? Put my finger on it versus figures.
Well, the scale is the efficiency doesn't say what the drawing is.
Second one's easier because it's blown up.
The area, the widest it is that's going to be disturbed is about 54 feet, but it narrows down, it comes to a peak on this side. And the length is about 50 feet. It's right, it's basically right around between 2,000 and 2,500.
And these lots were already subdivided
They have
several times.
several times.
Will these be serviced by wells and septics?
Yeah, Water and sewer coming up the driveway.
Okay, so you're bringing right up.
Yep, Torringport Street has full utilities in it, so they'll bring in water, and they'll split off and go one way with one, and one way with the other. It's downhill, so it's gravity to report from the lines.
So then you're gonna have two laterals going all the way down, or you're gonna combine them with a structure in the driveway, or
Two laterals going down,
all the way down?
side by side.
Okay.
Where is this on 44th Street?
Cedar Lane is here, actually. Cedar Lane.
Okay, so it's before, oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
The exit, I can't think of the name of the road. There's a,
Is it Common Drive?
yeah, it's
Yes.
Colin, right on the first laptop.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the big subdivision when it going back.
Exactly.
With the application materials.
Yeah.
So is
We
this,
did show you this.
yeah, I was gonna say, is that planting plan like preliminary, or you were saying that there was gonna be more work to? That's on the wetlands specifically, you're saying.
The planting plan right now is going, it may be tweaked by George Logan. We've used what he typically does in the past. He's fairly predictable and it works. So we've put this on here, but he's going to review it before the next meeting to make sure it's exactly what he wants and add more verbiage to how it's going to take place. And I'm sure he is also going to tell you, or I'm going to tell you for him, that he will oversee the construction of the wetlands here. And that should probably be a condition of approval.
That wetlands that they found, is that just wetland soil or is it mushy and wet?
Wetland soil. It looks like water rolls through there. It was pretty dry when we walked out there. It was flagged very recently, within the last week and a half. There's evidence of moss, and you can tell it was wet, and that's where Jeremy picked up on it. They had started cutting the trees, and there's also evidence from the machinery going in that it was wet where the machines went through. So it was pretty obvious that there is a water condition there.
I think if there's no other way in or out of those two lots.
There is not. That's the one access.
See, I agree with me. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept applicant Ken Herka, location.
Oh, for the record, I'm not the applicant, I'm the applicant's agent, sir.
I'll make that.
Who is the applicant?
The applicant would be George Nugent.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we accept applicant George Nugent, location 3222 to 3226 Torringport Street, activity wetland filling, creation of constructed wetland and improvements within the upland review area as not significant.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next is staff report, enforcement report update.
So the two things I had to report out on were, one from our last meeting, Mr. Slowa, who came in for a show of cause hearing. Yeah, it was quite a show. And so he was appealing his cease and desist order that had put on the property because he was not operating in compliance with his existing wetland permits. So the commission left it in place. Since that time, he was given 30 days to get everything all off the site and cease activity there. I visited yesterday and he removed everything except for the bulldozer, which is up by the road, like nowhere near the wetlands. And he informed me today that everything, that the bulldozer has been taken off the property as well. So I have to go and confirm that's the case, but bring him, the property is completely clean, and the back by the wetland looks phenomenal. I was actually surprised at how devoid of anything was there back there, so. Yeah, so that was a, positive outcome there. He has plans for the future, but we'll see. This is right to go develop a single family home there. So, we'll wait that application when it comes. The other update I wanted to give was on Felicity Lane. And you all remember this was an enforcement accident. Jeremy had been following up on. I just wanted to check in with him, and he said that, basically that a cease and desist, that is still on the record, but nothing has changed. There's been no attempt to clean it up. So Jeremy is pursuing it through legal, and he's doing it both for zoning and wetlands, because there are zoning violations as well. So that's officially moving to legal, and I'll keep you updated on the status of that after that happens.
Okay, next agent determinations.
Just one on Limerick Road, which was really straightforward. They pulled off a deck and put up a staircase and smaller than the deck, and they wanted to remove 3 trees in the upland review area that were dead. So
They're gonna probably get a lot of ash trees that people want to cut down.
yeah, I don't even know if they were ash trees. I think they were just
Dead trees.
dead trees and hazards. Yeah. The last bit, the Cacuic conference. This is the Connecticut Association. Does anyone know the acronym off the top of their head? It's the Inland Wetland Commission Association for the state. And they have their annual conference. Tom went last year. And this year it's going to be October 29th. And that's an all day. It's on a Saturday. So if any of you are interested, let me know. And we can fund 2 people going. No, I think it's in person. I think it's in person. I think it's hybrid.
I know when they had it in person, it was in Rockville.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle of the state there. I'm not sure exactly where. But Emily, that might be a nice opportunity for you to.
The 29th.
Yeah, if you're interested, any of you, are just let me know. You have my email. Just we have to make sure that we get that registration in. So
Yeah, I can do that.
cool. That's all I have.
Okay, next, I guess a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Well, thanks for your service.
You're welcome.